lodged in her legs.
Wow.
She lost all 2 or 7 months in hospitals down at U of M and everything.
Yep.
They were going to cut off both legs at the knees.
Yeah.
And they ended up with this fasciotomies. They just slit your legs open with
Yep.
relief pressure.
That's rough.
But yeah, it was quite an ordeal. But I remember one night coming down the hallway, and this doctor was standing there talking to a nurse with his arms full of a young guy. And she was on the gurney, and he walked up there, and he just stood there. And she was on the gurney, looked down at
Hang on.
just stood there. Looked up, and she was sitting back, like, I'm not moving for just anybody. And I went up to him, I says, FYI, you put your pants on one pant leg at a time, just like me this morning.
Yeah.
If you ever do anything like this again, you're the one that's going to be on the gurney, because I'm going to knock the cold crap out of you.
Oh, yeah. Doctors, they can be interesting.
God complex.
Yep. And when they don't know what to do, they get kind of they don't. And what I found out over the years, like for my wife, she had back 19 years ago had a spontaneous dissection of a left anterior descending artery, which caused a heart attack.
Right.
And that's rare. Most people don't come across that. Rose has been, last year or 2 years ago, she was getting her cataracts done in her eyes, and the anesthesiologist actually had the same thing she had. And that's the first time she met someone who had the same thing.
Oh, wow.
Most doctors have not seen her case. They're very rare. They're very rare.
It's what, I'm sorry?
She had one of her arteries, her left anterior descending artery, just exploded, just blew out randomly and caused a heart attack instantly. Most die. 80% of people die instantly.
What caused it?
It's just you're born with a bad artery. It's an anomaly.
Is that an aneurysm?
No, it's kind of a form of an aneurysm. Most people think of aneurysm as the aorta. That's the thing
Yes.
about but it's kind of like an aneurysm, but they don't call it a dissection. It's a little bit different, but it's similar to an aneurysm, but it's different. And then usually when it happens, it causes sudden death. And so most don't survive it. I mean, when I got home from the hospital, like telling me this, I go, "What in the world?" You go to American Heart Association, right? What do they say? Nothing about it. I go, and I've researched and found some journals online, and it said 80% of people die instantly, 20% survive. This husband's gone to jail because their wives died of that, and they thought the husband killed the wife because they didn't do an autopsy. She was just dead in the bed. Pregnancy will cause it. Athletes will have it happen. John Ritter had when he passed away, same thing. And once they hear like an athlete, they'll be taking some drug abuse will cause it also.
They found him. He was an evangelist, and he literally blew the buttons off his shirt.
Wow.
When his heart just exploded.
Wow. That's wild. So let me get this set up real quick here, so I don't forget to send it. So I gotta send this link out. Hit the right button. I'll be in good shape. Okay.
Is there anyone else coming?
No, it's just us.
May I shut this?
Sure, you can. Our other person I thought was going to be in town, but I guess he thought he was going to be in town too, but he's not able to make it in. So, and okay, so the heat's working. So y'all doing good?
Yes.
Okay, where I sent it out to everybody. There he goes. Okay. Okay.
I don't know if he's the one that's in charge of it or not.
Steve in charge of that thing this afternoon?
Yes, he is.
Or Jordan?
No, he is. Jordan's doing the thing in May in Detroit, but this is Steve. Okay. All right, because let me do this real quick. Hey, come on, up here.
I think I got his.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okie dokie, let's get started then. Let's have a word of prayer, and then we'll jump into all this stuff we're going to cover today. Heavenly Father God, I thank you for this time together. I thank you for your sweet presence here today, and I ask that you just guide our time together. I've got stuff to talk about, Lord, but I know that I want you to lead us and guide us and help us to grow in you and how we can be more effective in ministry for you, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All righty, so let's jump in here. Glad to have you with us today, Shirley.
Sorry, I couldn't
That's okay. That's okay. We understand. You know, the video is not the best, but it works. You know, people can get the information, and so.
Yeah, you can feel the draft.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forget that. That does belong to Jackson here. Forget about that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the crisis intervention, hospital care, and shut-in care, and then that'll be the first kind of lecture, and the second lecture will cover grief and loss and how to minister there. We'll talk about a few things with that. So, like I said, my wife was in the hospital with my daughter, so. And they're there, and Rose can get her home. But I may have to leave real quick, and I mean we pause. Maybe we'll see. And I have to run and maybe take a break, and I'll run home, get them in the house real quick, and then come right back. Take like 10, 15 minutes. But we'll see because they may be there for a while. I have no idea. So let's jump into it, okay? So let's talk about ABCs of crisis intervention. I put this together. I borrowed this from someone. And when I was putting this material together, and I think it's important to talk about, you won't do too much crisis intervention, but when you do, it's kind of good to have some ideas what to go off of. So there's ABCs of A, B, and C. A is achieving contact. You know, talking to the person. When you run across someone that's in crisis, that's having a difficult time, that's overwhelmed, okay, they're overwhelmed with emotion. And that could be caused by a wide variety of things. You basically got to let them know, okay, you're there, and try to make sure they know you're there. Meaning, if they're so wound up and they can get really upset sometimes and not be cognizant of that you're there. But you're there, and that can be a wide variety of that. You may be maybe someone coming forward to the altar and they're very emotional, and you're praying with them. And when you ask, when you pray for them, I just pray. Okay, just pause, give them a few minutes. We're on the blue ones here. And so give them a pause and just, what can I pray for you about? And it's always, that B is one of the problem. What are they there for? It's really important and this is a good guide for when you go pray for people, ask them what they went forward to the altar for. Never assume, if we do an altar call, we do a salvation call, people may be coming forward for salvation. They may be coming forward for healing. They may be coming forward for their aunt that's in the hospital. It's amazing to me when we do a salvation call. It's very clear, it's articulate, and people come down and it's for a totally different reason. And that's okay. Just ask before ask, okay, what did you come down here for? It may be very obvious. Pastor, it's kind of funny about Pastor. I was praying with someone a couple months ago, and Pastor did an altar call for, I think it was for healing of some sort, physical healing. And so, the elders and pastors were down praying with people and all that stuff. And I was praying with somebody. And I was praying with this one person for a long time. And he goes, what were you praying with him about? He's thinking, what's a physical issue? I go, no. It had something to do with a relationship problem she was having with, I think it was her parent, as a parent. And this was really messing her up. And I was kind of mini counseling her and trying not to get into counseling, but she was so overwhelmed by it all, and the Lord was really speaking to her heart because she got really moved in the service about that, and that's where she was at. So I took some time and prayed with her, and he goes, "That just seems like because usually when we pray for healing, what's your healing? Okay, we'll pray for you, and we kind of move on because oftentimes we have a lot of people to pray for, and so we try to spread that. So, but that person was really like cornered me a little bit in that one, so I kind of spend some time with that one. And that's okay, but you got to be able to engage it. That's the one reason that we have lay ministers, because we have pastors and elders and lay ministers, is help us cover a lot of people.
Yeah, sometimes there are a lot up there.
There's a lot up there, and we need lots of hands and lots of people to connect and pray with them and do all that.
I have a question regarding that.
Sure.
In your tape last week, it said when pastor calls for elders and
Yeah, thanks for letting me know.
that we should go as well.
You should.
Is that always
Yes,
open when he
yes,
calls
yes,
that? He
yes.
won't tell us.
No.
what
Yeah, I
to say.
wasn't sure if we were to go down
Yes,
that even
because
though
it give Pastor some grace. And for one, he always asks for if he says elders, pastors go. If he's elders, come on down. Just come on down. Don't, because he'll forget to say elders, lay ministers. It's just pastors, elders, lay ministers. It's just all the things. Just everybody come down and pray with people. Especially now, if you say, well, okay, but there's not a lot up there.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going to be standing there, what's the point? But there's a lot of people up there. Then go. Don't be looking for me like looking for you, because it's hard for us. For one, like if you got a very full crowd, if I'm in the altar and people are standing, I can't see who's out there. So especially now if they're sitting, I can say, okay, I can see you. I got to come up here and you pray with this person. But
you want us to go down even though we haven't completed all of this course?
at this time, you guys hold off. You guys wait. But you guys, unless I tell you, like when we do, we run across it this year. No, probably won't do it this year. But a lot of times we're doing this, we'll be like in the middle of an Edge or a Scrooge, and I'll say, yeah, you guys are going to help me do altar workers and stuff. And so, yeah, we have a large altar. Yeah, you guys come help me with that. Because what happens, I have a good amount of elders. But it always, sure enough, hands up. We have a big altar call, and Pastor Jordan's gone. Half the elders are gone. So I think all hands on deck. So, generally, if it's a little bit light, go down and kind of step back. Okay, make sure everything's covered. And then, but if you like, oh man, there's a lot of people up there, and all the elders and all the pastors up there, and there's still people not being prayed for, just go up. That's okay. Don't. And then we'll give you guys name tag. We try to do the lanyard things. We gave them out last year. We'll give them again this year, and encourage people to wear those. Elders too, because people don't know who the elders are sometimes. So that's a good thing. So we'll do that. So you achieve context. You talk to them. You boil down the point. Which ask why are they there? What's the issue? And then let's say I use the crisis intervention, but a lot of applications here. A lot of times when someone's dealing with something, you ask the question, what's going on? How can I help you? What do you want? What can we pray for you about? Because your role is really prayer ministry, and they can tell you right off the bat what's going on, and then go from there.
Something kind of intense, and should we call on you or pastor to
stay with them, pray with them, and do so. Then, if it's something more than that, then yeah, let us know. But if it needs a follow up, yeah. But beyond that, no, because most of the times, and every once in a while, something will come up of a serious mental health issue that will come up. And once something happened here at the church, we had a bipolar person, someone that suffers from bipolar and was going manic, and they didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, well, basically take them to the hospital. We get them to the hospital and we go from there because next step is not good. So, but outside of that, which is very, very rare, that would be like a emotional health emergency or whatever, or physical emergency. But anything spiritually, so you got to think: is there anything that has to be happening right now? They may think it is, it may feel that way, but most of the time, no. It's just we got to figure out what the next step. Some people, I've had it happen. They come through like on a big gives. You go pray for them, and there's a lot of needs, and we're providing food, we're providing a lot of resources. Sometimes they're having bigger needs than that. We do all that we can. We can't meet all their needs, but then we resource them as best we can also. So it's kind of all that work how that fits out. But then when you do, now think about it this way: if you help us do follow up calls, okay. So a lot of times, one of the biggest regular things that lay ministers and elders help me do is follow up calls, missing sheep calls. All that stuff, which is I email everybody, say, hey, right now I think I have 32 or 40 missing sheep. I got the missing sheep list down. I have 15 shut-ins. The elders, I think you guys were here at the meeting when we were working. Doing home visits with shut-ins, and so we're working through that. We're always trying to make contact with these people, and so the missing sheep we're working through on quite a bit. So a lot of times you call someone a missing sheep, and you'll say, hey, how you doing? We haven't seen you at church for a while, and they go, well, this is what's going on, and it's something that's like, okay, this happened recently. Pastor called on a gentleman we haven't seen him for a little while, and he came once, and this is January, February. What happens is that we have I understand how the missing sheep system works. If you ever notice me, I'll be in the back of the church with my little iPad here. I'm actually doing attendance. I'm actually looking. I have a whole system here. And I look for your face, and or your name. I go, okay, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. So then about every.
So you don't want us changing seats.
If you do, they do. People do, but I got okay. Or they change services. That's even more fun. But but I know the people pretty well. There are some people. It's really drives me nuts, for me personally, because I have people attend here forever, and I don't know who they are, and because they come early and they leave. They come in late and they leave early, and I can't catch them. And Pastor, sure enough, Pastor goes. Can the pastor I know the people pretty well? He's like, who's that person? I go, I don't know. He's like, you don't know who they go? I don't either. He's like, oh man, because we work really hard trying to get to know the people, and so but I go through. So about every week or so, every other week, I'll go through. Okay, who has not been here for 3 weeks? Okay, so I go through the list. Okay, this person's been out of town. They're in Arizona. I got this person. They're in Florida because they're with family. I got this person gone because of this. I go, this person has been here for 3 weeks. They go on missing sheep list, and we call them. A lot of times I'll be like, okay, I'm going to call you. But so we were doing that. So this one gentleman, he got missed somehow. I thought he was on a Sunday and he wasn't, and I got him mixed up with someone else, which is wild, but it happens. But we wait because if you haven't been here for 3 weeks, okay, there may be something up.
Yeah.
And so, and we'll call people. Yeah, I was there. Well, we didn't see you. I've had it happen. I was there. And go, didn't see you. Yeah, that's what argued me about
Better to
that.
call than not call.
Right. Well, when I've had people like with the business meeting, we had 2 gentlemen show up, or one person showed up, one person called. I want to vote at the business meeting. Go, you're on the inactive membership list. When you don't attend, if you're a member and you don't attend for 3 months, if you attend once for 3 months, you're okay. If you don't attend for 3 months, then you put an inactive. That's the rule. It's more like 6 months. But then I go through every Sunday and I'm okay. Who's here? After 6 months, you haven't seen you, and that happened to a couple gentlemen, and they're like, well, but I'm here now. And they were like, they stopped coming for 6 months. They started coming in January, but the board makes that decision of inactive based upon in January.
What's the point of coming to vote if you're not gonna?
Right. But they're like, well, I'm a member here because if I'm a member, I'm a member till Jesus comes, type of thing. Okay. Right. Or unless I decide to go to another church, whatever. Even though I don't attend. So yeah, so they got all upset about it, But I asked one guy, he goes, well, who does attend? So I go, I'm on the phone with him. I go, it's me. I go, I went. He goes, I didn't see you for 6 months, buddy. And he goes, did you? And I called you and I texted you. I called you twice. And I called you this month and this month, and I texted you several times and you never responded. He was like,
Yeah, call him on it.
So it's like whatever.
It's easier to blame somebody else.
It's easy to blame someone else. But he's like, well, oh no, someone's not catching me. I go, I go, I know who you are, and I'd mark you down because I care about you. I'll make sure, okay, you're here. If you're not here, we call you. There's this whole system that we have in place. So when you call them, but with one gentleman, Pastor, every once in a while, Pastor, I'm going to start calling. He'll just get on the phone and start calling people. I haven't seen, so he just goes through and calls. And I show him how to align the system, how we can just mark it, so I don't have to worry about it. And he calls one person. The person was in the hospital for a week. Was at home for almost 2 weeks, and wasn't here for like 4 weeks. And Pastor goes, oh my gosh, how did we miss him? I go, I don't know. And I looked at my sheet. I go, I had him here 2 weeks ago. He goes, he wasn't here. I go, well, I must have saw someone else and thought it was him. And he goes, and so, but it was. I've been in the hospital for a long time, and this is it was really rough on him. And I can't remember he had kidney issues, and been really really rough on him. And Pastor prayed with him and so forth. Then we followed up with him and talked to him a couple of times, and he's trying to get back in the church regularly more now. But stuff like that happens. That's why we do this. We're like, are you okay? I'll get on Facebook and I can call people. They won't answer. If I send a text or a Facebook message, I'll answer that. Go figure. And we're good. We're.
Back before computers, when I was in sales, the Franklin Planner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I carried the Franklin Planner and I wrote down, and we had a guy say nobody ever called on me. My boss cornered me about it, and I said okay, and I went back and I showed him, and it was on call reports and everything else where I'd been in to see him.
Yep. It's the same idea, but trying to
But
cure
I'll
that
tell you,
shit.
I know that you do this because I had gotten COVID, and then I got the flu at the same time. So I was so sick
Yeah, you're gone for a
that
while.
Nancy called me
Right.
first, and she said, we haven't seen you in church. Is everything okay? And I said, I have COVID and the flu.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I feel like I'm dying. It's awful. I go,
I was in
John's out of
Chicago.
town. And
Wow.
the doctor told me, tell him
Meet
to
him
stay
off,
out
so-
of town. Don't let him come back home until you're
Oh, yeah.
clear of this. Past 10 days.
Yeah.
So
I still had to sleep in the spare room.
yeah,
when
he
I
still
was
had
home.
that. But I was out for 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
even Pastor Phil called me
Yeah.
to pray on me.
yeah.
So I know it works,
Yeah.
and I know you guys do it. And I understand that there are people that do get missed.
Oh yeah.
But
We try.
I was I felt so, like a family.
Yeah,
You know,
careful.
that somebody did
Yeah.
and was concerned that
Yeah.
I was not there.
Yeah.
And then decided to try
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah. And that's
I wouldn't have called.
yeah.
I would have never called and said, can you guys pray for me? Can
Right.
you,
Yeah.
or
My
whatever.
mom got it all confused, and I had cousins getting a hold of me. Is Michelle still in the hospital? No, she was never in the hospital. Oh, Aunt
But that's
Judy said.
but that's why we kind of have that system in place that we. And so what we do is I send an email. I have an email list of lay ministers, and I also put one big email list. Okay, I got this many people who can help me, and I'll assign 6 or 8 contacts. And all we ask is to call. And there's some folks, and we keep a lot of notes. It's a big system that we have.
Right.
And so, okay, we've contacted this person for 3 or 4 months, but no one's able to reach them for some reason. Then we start, okay, reach out to this friend, contact this person, and how can we reach them? Like we had one situation. The worst one was it's happened a couple times where someone hasn't been here for a little while. We're regular. Do you remember do you know Sister Clark?
Yes.
Okay, Sister Clark would come to women's noon prayer. noon, it's Tuesday, women's prayer on Tuesday, noon prayer with staff, church, all that, really, really faithful attender. Well, she was in church on Sunday, didn't come to noon women's prayer on Tuesday, didn't come to staff prayer on Tuesday either. And I get done with it, I go, where's Sister Clark at? And a couple said, someone sent me a text, do you know where Sister Clark's at? I go, well, no, we don't know where she's at, we haven't seen her. This is really weird. She's not in church because she's always here. Sure, her husband was the founding pastor of Lakeside.
Oh, wow.
So and
Yeah, for her to miss would be very odd.
right, and so for her to miss, like she was like an elder, and this is really weird. So we called her, no answer. We called her, and I go, we need to get this checked out. So then we did. We went. Me and Pastor said, let's just go to the house. She actually fell in the kitchen, probably like Sunday morning, could not get up, and was there for 3 days.
Oh no!
We had to call the police. They finally had to break in the house, that was an ordeal because they wouldn't go in the house.
So you
without
can
permission.
see her laying in there?
No, the police woke in and found her. They said, okay, but something's not right. We go, this makes sense.
Well,
we called the son. He goes, yeah, break in, whatever. And they finally broke in and got in and found her on the floor. And she was alive, not great, but she was alive now, and all
3
that.
days.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
I'm
So-
glad you finally fixed the potential scam thing,
Yeah.
because I would never answer the phone
Yep.
when it said potential
Spam.
scam.
Yep.
And
That's
it
a big
was
issue.
sometimes Lakeside.
Yeah, because and that's a weird thing what phones do.
Yeah.
And we get that. We call people, or like, lay ministers will call and they don't recognize the number. I said, well, that's why you leave a voicemail. Let them, hey, I'm from Lakeside. That helps. That helps. But,
Leaving a message,
so it's a good way to do it. Okay. Anyway, so you'll run across this using ABCs of, when you call them, you're talking to them. When you're, what's the issue? What can I pray? And what can I pray for you about clarifies that in a big way. And then, how helping them out do whatever they need next. Sometimes it's just listening. The most important thing you can do is just listen. Okay, this next thing is what ways of responding that don't help, okay? When you get into a crisis situation, number one, don't be quick with advice giving, okay? Don't just say, just do this. I came across, all I got to do is this. Or, it's really tempting to give, like, medical advice. And because my aunt, my uncle, my parents, whatever, you can say, I understand what you're going through. I understand, this is their experience, but I have no idea. I mean, it's kind of funny because I'll walk in to do a lot of hospital calls, and there'll be some of the heart issue. And they'll start telling me all this stuff. I'm going, okay, I'm tracking because I understand that because of my daughter, my daughter and my wife in particular. And they go, and they're like, what? I go, yeah, your heart function, you're this, you're that, your ejection fraction. They go, most people don't know. I go, we're weird. But I go, I get that, but I go, what to do? I have no idea. You got to do your stuff. You got to take. But they say the medication. Now, as a counselor, people tell me, people go, yeah, I'm on this medication, this medication. I'm going, you're on what? And how long you been on that medication? Because there's certain medications like Xanax and all that stuff, which you can, if you're on long term, is that best to do and stuff. Where they go, you need to ask your doctor about that one. And they tell me stuff. I go, oh, well, that's something I know why that's there for. And I go, you didn't want me to know that, but I do now. But anyways, that's just because I know. But so you don't. But I don't give advice. I don't counsel people. And I go, if you need a therapist, fine. I'll give a referral. I'll be happy to talk to you as a pastor down the road. But you find out what the needs and really it's kind of okay. If their need is this, how do you pray? Gives you direction how to pray.
Right,
okay.
right.
Lord, provide, give direction, give peace, give that for this need to be met in this way, or open a door, or close a door, or whatever needs to be. Don't just reassure. Don't just be quick with that. We can be, oh, you're okay. That it's kind of like it dismisses.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Okay. Well, the problem is those.
It comes off flippant.
It comes off flippant, and there's real need in where they're at, and how can God meet that need? Because that's whatever the need may be. Okay. Platitudes, which kind of we do like Christianese things. It can fit, but be careful with it. When you ask questions that are open, like how can I help you?
Not just yes and no.
Yes, yeah. Don't if you're getting yes and no, you're getting okay. This is doing very well. Evaluative statements. That's kind of like you're making like a general. This is your problem type of thing. Kind of going back to quick advice giving. This is what your problem is. There you go, and be simple with it. Don't try to interpret too much. Get too weird. I've had some people.
That takes the fun out of it.
I know, but maybe the Lord's telling you this and telling you that, and you're like giving,
my.
and you're trying to, this is, and I heard a prophet say this over here and this and that, and I go, and I said, number one, always speak. If you share anything, speak with biblical authority, meaning, okay, the Bible says this. this is what I think, you
Don't get
know,
off the
and
rails.
don't go off the rails, okay? Never argue. If you say something that causes them to feel, you may feel, this is a real key thing, because sometimes people are very intense, and what situation they're dealing with can be very challenging. And you say something, and they get argumentative with you, okay? They felt, a little tip here, they felt criticized. It was not your intention, but they felt that way, and they defend. And so, if that's the case, say, whoa, just slow down. Slow down. I've had that happen in the altar. You go down and pray with someone, they're dealing with some serious stuff, and you go, okay, let's pray about it. Pray for my marriage. Okay, Lord, I pray for us. You should not pray for that. She's, whoa, hello. You know what she did. And there's sometimes you don't know what he did or they did. And sometimes what they did was really, really horrible. Okay? Someone's going to jail. Okay, I get that. But so you got to be, but be very sensitive. So sometimes so make sure you hear what their need is. Sometimes, so if they're saying, pray for my family, okay, how do you want me to pray for your family? Is that like, when I think family, I think of me, my daughter, my son, my daughter-in-law, my grandbaby. But am I talking about, okay, my parents, my cousins, what are we talking about here? Pray for my marriage, okay, what are we praying for your marriage for? Okay, what are we praying
Go
for?
into a little bit more
Give me
details.
some idea. Be specific what we're praying for, so I know. Now, if you know the situation, okay, that's fine. That's cool. I know a lot of situations. So like when people come down the altar, this past couple weeks, people come down the altar. And I know a lot of situations. I know what to pray for, and I'll know what to pray for, and I'll say, now I know what I think what I want to pray for, which came down here for. Am I missing something? Because we talked about this, last week or 2 weeks ago, and they'll go yes, or they'll give me some new information. Okay, just make sure I'm on the right track. I had a couple, and they're going through some really tough marriage problems, and they're coming for counseling. So I said they're in an altar calling. Okay, that's what we're praying for. So are we praying for you guys or what? And they go, no, pray for our son. And the son was dealing with some real health issues. So we're actually doing really good. I go, good. But they go, pray for our son. Okay, you got to pray for your son. So that's fine. Don't overshare too much about yourself, because think about it. When you approach someone, if now this is a really gray area, okay? There's testimony that builds faith. But you don't want to share something that they may go, that was a weird story for them to tell me. How many of you have been in the altar, someone came to pray for you, and they told you something, going, that was way too much information for you to share. Okay. So, but then there's testimony that says, well, this is, I was talking to someone recently going through a health issue, a lot similar to what Beth deals with her POTS. It's not POTS, but something similar. But it's left them like they can't get around, they can't move, they can't, they're kind of bedridden and stuff. And I was talking about that. They go, you must well know what this really like with Beth. They go, yeah, it's different, but there's a lot of similarities what you're dealing with. But I get what you're going through, because that person's life is just totally upside down. Can't work, can't go anywhere. And this is a guy my age that worked full time, was very active, and now he can't do anything. He's been stuck home for a month now, and because of a vertigo issue, and it's really rough. And I go, it's rough. He goes, yeah, I get up in the room, it starts tilting and shifting. And I go, oh boy, and
Vertigo thing.
yeah, it's rough. I know several people. So I'll say I know several people that in the church that have that same situation, and that helps them. Because if they know, they go, oh, okay, maybe talk to that person.
Yeah, right.
There's a couple people that have chronic vertigo that they're here in the church. Like, well,
You're not the only one going.
You're not the only one going through it, and they go, and then I just know. I go, my experience is that with that person, they have a tough time this time of year. I don't know why it is, but this time of year it's weird for them. I don't know why.
Fall and spring.
Yeah, it's the winter season is worse. I don't know why, but it is. And so I say, yeah, I don't know why. I go at my head that they would have a tough time the same time of year. And so, but maybe you can ask them about their doctor or whatever, type of thing. So there's appropriate sharing, but it's not inappropriate sharing. So, like I said, when I've gone into the hospital, they're talking about, this thing or that thing or whatever, or bypass or whatever, I go, oh, okay, I know a little bit about that, but then how they do it now is totally different when they did Rosemary's, because she was open heart. They rarely do open heart bypass now. That's rare. They do, they do all kinds of CAT scans, or the catheter lab thing is totally different now. They go through the wrist most time, and that's simpler and easier, quicker.
Wow.
So there's, a lot of procedures change, so not everything fits.
Right.
But then I've gone to the hospital after someone's had open heart surgery, and that's really traumatic. You know, they crack your ribs, your chest open. It's rough. It's hard. And I go, and I remember talking to a lot of people. The recovery for that was hard. Your heart's fine. Your ribs are killing you, and it hurts.
His leg hurt where they took the artery
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, exactly. And that sort of stuff people don't realize. No, it's the chest or the artery being taken on your leg. Those things. Now, I experienced. That was a real booger part.
They came in with my dad the morning after his open heart surgery with some juice and a little something. He said, "What's that?" And he said, "It's breakfast." He said, "I don't want that." I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Pancakes." So he ate pancakes the morning after his surgery.
Oh wow. Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Tough old codger.
Okay. All right. So let's run to. Okay, we're good. So let's talk about hospital visitation, shut-in, and all that stuff. So, in shut-in visitation. Number of visiting sick or shut-in. Number one, don't stay too long. It's interesting though. A hospital visit, 20 minutes typical time frame. A hospital visit, when you get to the actual room, about 20 minutes. But it varies. That's an average that I notice. Because people want to talk or they don't want to talk. When the conversation dies, pray with them, move on. Don't always be sensitive to what's going on. If they're feeling uncomfortable, in pain, sometimes some people, they don't want us to come visit. Hey, you're in hospital, don't come. Why not? They don't want us. Okay. Because the pain's so much and they don't want to be, they feel like they don't, that sort of thing. So don't stay too long. Be aware that parents and patients will act in aberrant ways, meaning they're on a lot of medication. Sometimes they'll like say some weird things, depends on when you go in. I typically like to go before surgery. Most of the times, Pastor and I will do what we call pre-surgery prayer, but we'll call on elders and lay ministers to follow, which is rare these days. People get them out in and out pretty quick. But if they're on a longer stay, like we have Diane Veers right now is in the hospital. She's at Beaumont Royal Oak, and she had major surgery. She's been in here 2 weeks now, just recovering for 2 weeks. That's how serious it was. And when my lay minister went to go see her, because I couldn't get to go see her, and she was really kind of out of it. She asked for water, and so she goes, okay. She had to ask, can she have water? She can't have water. So not even ice chips, not even sponge at that point, which is really rare, but that's where she was at that point. So be aware of those things. Never assume. Always, if they ask for like a food or anything like that, ask the nurse. They'll give you direction. If they're open to you being there, then stay. If they're not, it's okay. Just I'm going to pray with you and be gone. It's more important. I say this many times. It's important that someone shows up for 5 minutes. Makes a big difference. Just know that they're cared for and being prayed for. It's good if you can stay long. Sometimes they want to visit. Family's there, and I've had this whole. I'm in a health chat now. Okay, cool. Now I got to be careful my time, but yeah, they want to hang out, which is fine. But you got to be, but never overstay. Be conscious of that. You can be too quick, but just to be present, to pray with them, share some scripture. It can be 5-10 minutes, but I find the 15-20 minutes is a good time frame. If I feel like I could be staying too long, I kind of watch my clock. Okay, it's probably 20 minutes. I may need to go. If they're just kind of talking, but it depends on the person. Some are very talkative. But the blood sugars can go up and down. And now, if you see something that's kind of weird, you can, and the nurse comes in, if a nurse or doctor comes in, okay, and they want to talk to the patient, you can if you're like at the end, pray and leave, or you can say, well, I'm going to go. Do you want me to step out? Sometimes people because of privacy, they'll no, you can stay, Pastor Ray, no big deal, or they'll be fine for you to stay. Some people know you're good to go. Okay, don't be be aware that they may be talking about stuff they don't want you to know, and that's fine. If they're up, if they can. If you're going to sit down, don't. One time I walked into a place, and the patient's in the bed. It was Henry Ford. They have some of these rooms are really small, Henry Ford, and the bed was like up this way. The chair was behind. Kind of the guy had the patient had to turn all the way around to talk to you if you sit in the chair, and the son was sitting there going, "Why is he doing that? Why don't you just move the chair?" And so. They go, Randy, Pastor Randy, sit down. So there's a chair across the room. They thought I'd just sit down. And I moved the chair real close to the person, as long as I was not in the way of any IVs or any of the equipment. And so they didn't have me on, so I got to move right up real close. And I go, and the son goes, oh, and he got to move his chair. Get glue. Get a better range. And so if you sit down and could never sit on the bed, don't do that. Because that can actually saw someone do that and cause pain for someone because they moved a little bit. So don't sit on the bed. Sit in a chair if you're going to sit for a little bit and talk to them. Most times I stand, but once in a while they want to talk, so we'll sit down. They go, sit down. So I'll grab a chair, move it as close as I can to the person. Oftentimes the spouses, the family members will step away for you to get closer because they know you're there for a brief amount of time to pray with them. They're there the whole time. They may say, hey, you're here. I want to get a cup of coffee, go to the restroom. Okay, cool. And do you want, I may be gone. Do you want me to stay till you get back? What do you want in this? And ask about that. Okay, yeah, no, you can go, but I'll be back a little bit. Okay, cool. So be aware of that. Be aware of the hospital rules. If they say one person, it's got to be one person. And it depends on the nurses. Sometimes they'll get mean. If you say, I'm a lay minister, I'm praying for them, they will give you grace. If I say I'm a pastor, they will give us grace. They never ask for cards or ID. But they'll give you grace, but don't abuse it. Sometimes they're very, very accommodating. They want you to get in there, to minister, and they'll stay out of your way. Most of the time don't want to affect you in your work, but sometimes they got stuff to do and they got to get it done. So be aware of that.
So my understanding, if there's a family member in and there is only one person allowed,
If
you tell the nursing staff that you're
a lay minister, you want to pray with them, is that okay? If they say yes, they'll oh yes, no problem, you can do it.
Okay.
Or they may have some precautions, like I've gone in situations, you got to gown up everything.
Yes.
And then, okay, and I'll do that. The person may not even be aware. I've gone people to pray with them, and they're totally out. They are totally out. And so we still do the visit, we still pray with them, so we don't stay too long, try to find out if the family's around. The family's not around at that time for a reason, and that's fine. But you just, take care of the needs you need to take care of. Visiting hours, only go if it's emergency. Like ER right now, most ERs only one person get in if they allow that. So there's some hospitals who need to let a visitor go back, only the patients. But if they do, I've gone to I'm going. Nope, can't get in. Only one person. I'm pastor. I don't care. Like okay, great. It's on the hospital. It varies a little bit.
Henry Ford's not letting anybody.
Yeah, Henry Ford's not letting anybody in. They're the ones probably stricter on that stuff. But during visiting hours, so don't go like weird hours. Don't basically between 10 and 8. Don't go late. Don't go later or earlier. There's reasons where they have those rules. If the doors close and signs are posted not to enter, then check with the nurse and don't blow off those signs. Pay attention to them. Knock on them before you enter because they may not be decent, and that's why the reason doors close. Use the hand sanitizers. The nurses like that. They watch that. And they see you doing that, the little foamy things. They like that because you're trying to keep things clean for them, and that's not bringing anything in. That's real important. If medical personnel arrive to perform certain procedures, excuse yourself and return when they are finished. And you can say, I'm a lay minister, and they may say, no, we'll wait, but then sometimes they got to get things done, so just excuse yourself. Be very sensitive to that. If the person's asleep, which is real pain about it. James, I'll tell you the story. James Wood has been in the hospital with heart condition just recently. And so I went down there. He's dead asleep. And no one sleeps good in the hospital. You all know that. You all been there.
Right.
So I go, Jim, nothing. I go, I'm just going to leave him. And so I sent him a text. Hey, I was there. You were dead asleep. I didn't want to wake you up. Just we're praying for you and all that fun stuff. And his wife. I went to go see him, but he's dead asleep. I'll come see him tomorrow. And that made a big difference. I went there the next day and prayed with him, had a nice visit. But, it's fine.
Could you leave a card?
You can leave a card.
A little note.
Yep. If I didn't have their cell, I find text works really well for them. And his phone was sitting right there. I go, okay, I'll send him a text.
Okay.
And then he'll read it. And he's like, hey, thank you for coming by. That was really a good way to do it. Sometimes I have my card. I'll leave my card, say I was here, type of thing. But that works out good too. So just a note of some sort, text or whatever, or handwritten, is fine too. If you wish to offer help, if you offer help to do something, ask if it's okay. Never assume it. Don't just do it. Sometimes they want to be independent for whatever reasons because they've been what they are. When you go there and minister and pray with them, you're praying for if there's family members, other people in the room. They'll ask for prayer sometimes. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they're mad you're there. That's a whole fun thing. I went to go see someone recently and went to go pray for him. He goes, yeah, the guy. And I saw him afterwards. Yeah, the guy next to me, man, he was mean and bitter. Crabbed about you come and pray for me. And I kept on praying for him, and I offered to pray for him a couple times. And finally, he said, "Okay." By the time he left, he felt that he connected with him, was able to witness to him a little bit. So you never know. You never know what that visit's going to do.
A friend of ours, her dad just passed away just a few weeks ago, and he was claimed to be an atheist his whole life.
Right.
And And she went to him, because she's a Christian.
Very religious.
And wanted to pray with him. And he said, no, I ain't had nothing to do with it. And he literally, near the end, was screaming, I'm on fire, I can feel the heat, I can't take the heat. Screaming that as he died. But still would have nothing to do with him.
Wow. Jeez, that's rough. That's wild. That's wild. When you speak to the patient, sometimes you got to speak up.
Yeah.
Because they don't have hearing aids in and all that stuff.
I know that problem.
Yep. So you got to be conscious of that and speak up and adjust to that accordingly. It's really hard because, and like, it's. They had that little speaker thing for the TV, and they won't turn it down when you.
Yeah.
So I've been known to like, and they're like, "What?" I'll put my hand on top of the speaker,
Yeah.
and they go, "Oh, that's on. Oh yeah, okay." Where to touch the person? It's good to touch them because oftentimes they're not touched by many people because especially for any length of time because only touched by nurses and doctors, and that's just no fun. Holding their hand, if at all possible, is always best, or their shoulder is always best. If they want a hug, that's cool, but don't offer it to them because it physically may hurt.
Right.
But holding a hand is always probably the best thing to do, especially when you pray with them. I always make sure I'm holding their hand when I pray with them, and if I'm praying if the family members in there, we hold hands together.
Right.
That just makes a big difference. When praying, listen to the patient's request. What do you want me to pray for? Don't assume we're praying for the gallbladder to get taken out or to recover. Because sometimes what's in their mind is a bigger need. Like my dog's been at home alone all these days, or oftentimes their care afterwards is a big issue. And so pray for those needs. Whatever that may be, ask the question. Encourage hope without giving false assurances. Don't make something up. Just say, God's got it in control. You got good doctors, you got good care. Listen carefully to what is concerning or upsetting the person, and do not make assumptions about what they might problem be. Again, don't assume that it's what their concern is, what's going on with them right then and there. Try the person to relax and use your time effectively. If you feel like they seem a little bit tense, they seem a little bit anxious. Sometimes they're anxious being in the hospital. Sometimes because you showed up and they feel, I feel awkward. You're here because I'm in a horrible state.
Right.
Some people are that way. So if they can relax, and you find that when you talk to them, like it's kind of funny. I walk into hospitals a lot later. I'll ask, "What's going on with you? Help me understand what's going on. Help me understand what's going on." They'll tell you, and if they're a little bit like, "Oh, you came to see me," when they tell you that story, they kind of get more calmer. Then they'll ask me, "How am I doing?" And I'll tell them, "Well, this is what's going on with my day today, or whatever," and they go, "Okay."
Your day's worse than theirs.
But just share with them, and they go, that helps calm things a lot. Just conversation, being polite, being sensitive to them, and that's real important. When you go in to see them, you're gonna see some stuff that's not fun to see sometimes. People on ventilators and machines, and in really serious condition can be very difficult. And so, like when I asked Jeanette Palachik to see Diane Veers, she's recovering from surgery in ICU, lots of bells and whistles, lots of machines, lots of stuff. She can barely talk. Really appreciated the visit. Was happy to see her. But she said, I stayed like 30 minutes and she was done. She was tired. She wanted to have her read some Psalms, read some scripture to her, Proverbs, and prayed with her and talked a little bit. But then she goes, "Okay, I'm done." Because okay, I'm going to go. But there's a lot of it was because it was so intense. It's hard to see people go through that because they're suffering, and just be ready for it. If you're not ready to go, if you're like, I can't deal with that today, then don't go, and that's okay.
I know my ex-wife was in a coma for like 3 weeks, and when the kids came in, they just everything shut down.
Right. Yeah.
She was on kidney, and they just
it's hard. Extremely hard for folks. I'm desensitized. I just walk in. Nothing really scares me anymore. I've seen everything, so it doesn't. I mean everything. It doesn't bug me. But that's just because I've done so much of it over the years. You also need to realize that visiting sick can drain you emotionally. Sometimes it can get very intense. When you go into the hospital and you go, "Hey, I walked in. Hey, go see so and so. Okay, go over there." And I had one time I go visit someone, Troy Boymont. Okay, they're in the hospital. They're not good. It's not good. It's an elderly person. It's not good. Okay, I'll go pray for them. And then it was later on the day. Walked in. We got no information from family. When I walked in, they were probably minutes away from dying.
They were what?
Minutes away from dying. And I didn't know that until I walked in the room. So I walk into a room full of family, and the pastor walks in, and the doctor says, we need to pull the plug. And the wife decided, okay, we need to pull the plug. Take off life support because there's nothing else there. Didn't know it because we got word that he was in the hospital, had a heart condition. Didn't know it. We got that bad throughout the day. So you walk in, it's like, whoa, now it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
So I prayed with them, and you just really, okay, what are we praying for? Are we praying for God to touch them or to let them go? And I asked the wife, what do you want me to pray for? Because the person was out of it. And that he goes quickly. Okay, we'll release him in your hands. And you know that, and he was a believer, and so that's our testimony, and we pray.
What do you say, this just happened to me, my granddaughter's papa passed away, very unexpectedly. And I do not know if he was
Because on the surface, he was not a believer.
Right.
In any way.
So I just said to my daughter, just pray with my granddaughter and just let her know, because my granddaughter's only 7.
Right.
Let her know that she'll see her papa in heaven. And John says it's like false.
We don't.
What do I say?
We don't know. We can't judge it. I don't know what anybody can do in the last minute decisions. I don't know what they're in their heart. We don't know.
Right.
It's between them and God.
But is it okay to say that to my
It is.
granddaughter?
I've been asked that question by kids and adults and all, and I go, I don't. When they know that they never made that public confession of Christ, could they? Sure, I don't know, and I don't leave that from me. I cannot be judged, and we're judged not unless you be judged.
Right.
And so leave that alone and let that
Okay,
be.
so it was okay.
It's
to
okay.
say that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Because I wasn't sure.
It's hard. It's hard.
After he said that, I thought, well, did I say the wrong thing? I don't want to.
Right. No, it's an honest thing. I don't know. I don't know. And there's some situations where it's very hard. They're like anti, but then there's some that were like, I
That's
will
like when
someday.
People say that they got a new angel in heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yeah.
Don't try to make people feel guilty about being sick or dying. That's people get healed. God's gonna take care of you. Don't just they're where they're at. Be careful of that. Don't ask medical personnel about the patient's conditions. They can't tell you because HIPAA law.
Sure.
Okay. They used to tell pastors and people all kinds of stuff. Now they don't do anything. Do not ask patients about the diagnosis or prognosis. Just ask them what's going on. How can I help you? They can tell you what they want to tell you. Don't ask what the doctors saying. Don't ask about that. Sometimes they don't know. That can open up a whole can of worms you don't want to get into. Don't bring the sick or shut-in your disease. If you're sick, cold, anything like that, don't go. Just don't go. Even if you got a mask, if you go in nowadays, you have to wear a mask. So that doesn't. Even then, don't do it. Calls on a sick or shut-in can be expected or can be expected or unannounced. I mean, you can go to the hospital and just show up and don't have to worry. Don't call, especially in the hospital. Don't worry about calling ahead of time. Just go. Home visits, you need to call. If you just show up, it can be very different. And a lot of times they may not be there because they're doing hospital appointments or doctor appointments or whatever. So be careful of that. Do you remember that for an especially lonely or bored patient, your visit probably eagerly anticipated. So they're like excited to see you and they want to talk, they want to share, and that's fine. Then you gotta be careful. Okay, I can do this. If you're like I can spend an hour, cool. If I can only do a half hour, me it's like I can only do about a half hour max unless it's something really I got a lot because it's just my time. Because and think about it. If you think about this, if I drive to Beaumont Troy, it's 10 minutes from here. If I do a Beaumont Royal Oak, it's 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back. It's time of day. There's a lot of variables. So if I go to Ann Arbor, I'm hauling. And that's what we got to do. We got to plan it all out and know what we can and can't do. Yeah, but and I've gone in and usually it's always very serious, very intense, and all the machines, and you can only go in for a short period of time. And I'm like 5-10 minutes, and then you got to leave. And you tell the nurse, I'm a pastor, I'm here to pray, I'm a layman, I'm here to pray with this person. They will make a way for you to be there to pray for that person. But you got this much time, you got to get out. Okay, whatever. Don't be demanding about it at all.
Trying to show horror on your face.
Yeah, don't show horror and shock in your face when you walk in, because you'll cross stuff that could be very traumatic. Yeah. I'm just being honest. Practice being relaxed in your visits. If you're tense, they'll feel that tension. Right. So the more you do it, it's like me. I'm like, if I see you in a hospital, it's like if I see you at the church. It's just because I've been doing it a long time. So you get used to it. Try not to apologize for coming sooner or often. If you couldn't get there right away, I feel bad sometimes we can't get the people right away because of various, or we don't find out till later or whatever. And it doesn't. You just show up and that's all they care about.
Some people don't want you to I had an uncle like that, he didn't want,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
he had pancreatic cancer, and it's like, you know.
Occasionally drop in at an unusual time, not different not non-visiting hours, but later or more, or when's. Think about it. If they have family that works middle day, if you can do a middle day visit, it'd be great.
Right.
Evenings, and I tend not to visit in evenings because family will typically be there,
Right, exactly.
and so be careful. So daytime's good. Good. Visiting sick is no time to tell those horror stories you have heard. That's a thing that's
That's
happened.
what I hate about a motorcycle. Yeah, a friend of mine, he was just out here and he got killed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. You know.
Last thing here, do a lot of listening, and that's good. Don't play doctor. Okay. If you have a testimony to share of God provision or whatever, that's good, but don't. When using scripture, keep in mind the Lord's Prayer, Psalms 23 are two really good ones to go to, and those are probably great ones to go to. If you're reading scripture in your devotional reading, you go, man, and you go, I just want to share that with them. And if you want to share that, you can never go wrong sharing a scripture and praying with them. That's never, don't read them a whole book of the Bible, but there's a lot to share with that, and that's a good thing. Okay. I'm going to pause here. I got a text message from my daughter and Rosie. We're heading home, so I'm going to run home real quick. Give me
Not a problem.
15 minutes. I'll come back and we'll finish up this last lecture here. Okay. So I'm going to run real quick.